Okay, want to thank you guys for coming to the call tonight. This is my weekly here to help you webinar. Come on here once a week to do some sort of a presentation or a demo, um, show you guys a little training of some sort, and then answer questions that I got in emails and through the replay form. And then we take your live questions if you have any after that. These calls are not here to sell you anything. These are just pretty much, question answer training calls. Occasionally you might hear me mention a product that's for sale that's being launched this week, but it's mostly just to inform you of it. And once in a while I'll have something that I am launching myself that I will plug. But for the most part, these calls are, like I said, just for you guys to give you a chance once a week to come on here and see a presentation or a demo, hopefully learn a little something that you can use in your online business in some way, and get a chance to ask questions and hopefully get answers here on the spot if I possibly can. So tonight our presentation is a little different from the norm. It's again on a topic that we've talked about before, not extensively, but it's also in a business model that everybody should be involved in if you have any kind of online business. And it's another uh, business model in the email marketing list building niche, but it's going to be slightly different from what you've heard. Not a lot of people will go through a training like this. In fact, I only know of one other training that I've ever went through where they talked about what we're going to talk about tonight. All right, so let's get the first screen loaded up here. Okay, so what we're going to talk about tonight is offline list building and getting your emails opened and read. Now, where we're calling it offline, we don't necessarily mean offline in that, it's not involving, the internet or the, wide world web at all, and dealing, strictly with, newspapers and that kind of thing. Although you can do list building to an extent with that. And in fact, Dana has, a lot of experience with doing, uh, running a newsletter and a list building offline. She's been doing it for years. And in old school, that's how it was done. It was done through, physically printed newsletters and magazines that were sent out on a time basis. But what we're talking about when we're calling it offline, what we're talking about is small businesses, and not necessarily small business, but any business that their primary bulk of business is done in the offline real world with, a brick and mortar physical presence. They have, an email account, even if it's a free one, not on their own domain that they have themselves. Now, it's getting to the point now to where most businesses that start up now, that's one of the first things they do is get a website and an email address. So it's getting really kind of rare now for a new business not to have a website and an email account. But there's still a ton of them out there that have been around for years that are just slowly adapting to the internet, that still all they have is just a free email account somewhere with Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo or somewhere like that. But this is the business. This is what we're talking about is businesses that have an email account, whether it be their own on their own domain or a free one. Now, the first thing I want to talk about up front is that this niche of list subscribers is totally different from all other niches, and being as such, it has to be treated differently. We talk about in list building most of the time when you go to list building trainings, and they're talking about online marketing and internet marketing and that type of list building in that niche. And of course, you do it in other niches as well. But you also need to be doing it in dealing with local small businesses and offline. Again, I'm using the term offline businesses as well. You need to be doing a list building there, but it's a totally different niche and has to be handled a whole lot different than any other niche that you would be building a list with. Now, I've been working with offline businesses since 1994 when I got my first internet related job as a network administrator for a local ISP. Half of my job function was dealing with businesses that didn't have a website and getting them to have a web presence. So had a lot of exposure to local small businesses and their experiences with the internet. And two things is pretty much predominant in the local small businesses and their use of the internet. First off, they're not internet savvy in the least. In fact, in a lot of ways, they're scared of the internet. They really don't know what all they can do with it, and some of them have a fear that they're even going to blow up the world if they push the wrong button, or delete their whole website if they push the wrong button. Like I said, they don't have any knowledge of how the internet works hardly at all, and they will rely on whoever is providing their hosting services for most everything they want to do on the internet. They'll call the people that's doing their hosting for just about anything they want to do with the internet. They'll call them first before they do it because they're afraid they're going to make some sort of a mistake in something. And then secondly, especially with the older generation that have local businesses, they're pretty much scared of the internet and feel like, most of it on there is some sort of a scam just out to take their money. They don't understand how it's the new revenue stream that's being presented to them, and can open up more doors for them, and they are stuck in the old world of news and print and TV and radio. That the internet is just something that they just don't see how it can benefit them at all. So you have a little bit of hindrances or obstacles to overcome with small businesses to start with, to get them online and get them to using parts of the internet that would help them in their business. Now, getting someone from an offline business to subscribe to your mailing list is not as easy as list building and other niches. You'll see WSOs talk about how easy it is to get people to subscribe to your mailing list in the offline world, but it's not as easy as they claim it is. Uh, like I said, most businesses, they barely know how to use the internet. Some of them just barely know how to check their email. And like I said, some of them are really scared of the internet, and they're afraid to opt into a mailing list. Now, for the most part, the things that we would normally do in list building and other niches, offering some sort of a free report or a video or audio, primarily doesn't work with the offline businesses. They're not interested in a free report. Very seldom will they even read a free report. If you were to even give them one, if you were to subscribe to your list because of one, they would never read it. They basically don't have time for it. They're so busy dealing with their real world physical business, they don't have time to deal with things that are on the internet. They just soon pay somebody else to deal with it and not have to let it take up time in their day, so they can go on being productive in their physical business. And the second thing is, they have a fear of being put on a spam list. And that's true in a lot of cases, especially with people that are brand new to online marketing, that are trying to build a list in the offline sector. They pretty much don't know how to handle the list, so they handle it just like they would any other list, and they view it as spam. The getting so many contact emails from a list owner, to them it's spam to get contacted way too often. In fact, a lot of them, the offline businesses, are so internet inept that they'll ask you to add them to your mailing list instead of filling out an opt-in form. And I've had this to happen numerous times. Go to some sort of a meetup, a chamber meeting or something like that, and you tell them about how you have something that might interest them, that might help them with their business, some information you have, and they will ask you, well, put me on your mailing list to send it to me. And you can do that, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, how you can do that safely. But some of them, even when they get to an opt-in form, they really don't, they're afraid to enter their information into it, especially if you're asking for, a real name. We've seen the trend here lately in all niches of list building where you're going to get a lot more subscribers if you don't ask for the name as opposed to just asking for the email address. This is really predominant in building a list in the offline niche, in that people will enter their email address before they will enter their name and their email address. I've even had people send me letters and ask me to put them on my mailing list instead of actually going to an opt-in form. They would rather send me a physical piece of mail asking me to put them on my mailing list instead of going to a web form and doing it there. That's not. I'm not saying that everyone is like it. We're talking about people that just have no clue of what the internet can do for their business at all, and they're totally scared of everything on it and don't understand anything about it at all. These are the people that when you go see them at the network meetups and the chamber meetings and the after hours events, the ribbon cuttings and things like that, these are the people that will come up and ask you to put them on your mailing list. So if there ever was a scenario where I would recommend a self-hosted autoresponder that you host on your own web hosting account, this is the niche that I would recommend that you would do one. Of course, I would recommend that you have it set up properly. You go through all of the proper steps of setting up, the DNS, DKIM, and SPF records for DNS so that your emails will get delivered, and you use a third-party email delivery service such as Amazon SES or SendReach or fmtp.com, somewhere like that where they have working relationships with the internet providers to have your emails actually be delivered. I don't recommend doing a self-hosted autoresponder account on a shared hosting account, and probably not even a VPS account, because VPS accounts again can be seen to as the internet providers as a possible spam source. But with a self-hosted autoresponder, you do have the option of adding people manually to your list yourself in the case of somebody asking you to put them on your mailing list. You can do this somewhat to an extent with like Aweber or GetResponse, but it looks suspicious to them if every subscriber comes from the same IP address, and eventually you will get a call from Aweber or GetResponse asking why you're getting so many subscribers from the same IP address over and over again. Now you can go to the extra effort of using proxies and that kind of thing, but it gets aggravating to do that. Like I said, if there ever was a niche where I'd recommend a self-hosted autoresponder, this offline marketing to offline businesses would be the place where I would recommend one. But obviously you don't want to just go out and gather up email addresses and start adding them to your list. You obviously want to have their permission before you manually add them to your mailing list. It's just the same as anything else. People don't want to be automatically added to something that they didn't ask for. So be sure that if you do go this route of setting up your own autoresponder and that the people ask to be put on your mailing list, even if, like I said, you're at a meetup and they ask you to subscribe them. But what we want to talk about tonight here is not so much about, the physical, technical aspects of list building, but what we want to talk about tonight is how to manage these people that you have on this list that you've been building, and how to deal with them and get the most response and be effective with marketing to them through email. The first thing you got to realize is that these subscribers are not at their computers most of the day. So time-sensitive scarcity rarely works out well for you in email campaigns to an offline list that you're building. It can work in certain circumstances depending on what the offer is you're offering. If it is something that you can, adjust the actual availability of it, and that you give, plenty of time for the expiration. In other words, you can't send out something that's going, saying it's expiring in 24 hours and expect a good response from it, because it may be 2 or 3 days for, a local small business owner will check his email. The internet is not their priority. In fact, they would rather have somebody in their business check their email account for them than let them know if there's something important in it before they would actually go check it themselves. And a business owner that doesn't have anyone to do that, checking email and logging into Facebook and things like that are going to be things they only do a couple, 3 times a week. It's not going to be something they do on a daily basis. So the traditional ways of marketing through email where we have some sort of a limited time offer sale pretty much won't be effective with this type of list that you're building, given, that there are circumstances where it could work for you. Now, secondly, you got to realize that while repeated exposure is a must, daily mailings will cause people to unsubscribe. The reason being is again, these people are not at their computers all day long, and some of them, only check their email, once or twice a week, or some of them just check it once a day or whatever, and they don't want to see their inbox filled up with, emails from you. So daily emailings to a list like this are going to cause a lot more unsubscribes and actually give you a bad reputation out in the local community as being a spammer. They'll tell their other business people they associate with that if they get on your mailing list, you're going to spam them, even though you're not spamming them. You're just sending them a daily email. To them, they look at that as being spam by getting so many emails that when they log in to check their email, if it's been several days since they've checked email, they see 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 emails from you. They view it as you're filling up their mailbox. So it's been my experience, and like I said, I've been dealing with these people since 1994. It's been my experience with these people that twice weekly is enough, and you need to space the emails at least 3 to 4 days apart. The best results I've had, the best strategy I've had for scheduling mailings is really to alternate weekly with like a 3 and 4 day span, and then the next week doing a 2 and 5 day span between the emails. And the reason why that works is it doesn't get to be a timed thing where they can expect an email from you every 3 to 4 days. Having a weekly alternate schedule like this breaks up the days to, they really don't know when an email is coming from you. But still, using this schedule here, you're only sending them 2 emails per week, and that's pretty much acceptable to get 2 emails per week from an internet provider or internet marketer. They'll live with that, and it depends on the content in the email as well, of course. But that's what we're talking about here, is the actual scheduling and not bombarding them with emails. So what I want to go over next is a few guidelines and tips for getting better opens and reads, because you have to handle this a little differently as well as compared to other niches. Paul says, I would agree with the email address without the name too. Yeah, it definitely makes a difference. I mean, I don't know what it is, but people feel like by giving you their name that they're giving out too much personal information. And one reason why people say it works is, because it's faster, that, they don't have to type as much, which, I guess has some legitimacy to it. But the biggest thing is people feel like by giving you their name that they're giving away too much personal information. Walls asking, how do you keep a record of the requests to be added to your list in case of a problem later? Usually when I get a request like that, it's usually at a meetup where I'm giving out business cards, and they will usually give me a business card with their email address on it, and I'll write it on the back of the business card that they asked to be added to the list. Rarely, I've never had an offline business to complain about being added to a list. They pretty much, when they ask to be added to one, they know they're going to be on one. So I've never had any one of them to do a complaint. I've had them to unsubscribe, but I've never had them to complain. Okay, so moving on with some of the guides and tips. The first thing you want to do is you want to make your emails short and to the point. Unlike traditional list building, where we'll send out some sort of an e-course or a long email with a lesson in it or something like that, that explains a lot about a topic or a subject. Pretty much your offline businesses are not interested in that type of email, and they'll never read it. They want to see emails that are short and to the point and just, come right to whatever it is you're talking about. Even if it has to link to another, you have to link to another page for them to give them the info that they need from the email. They would rather have that than they would have, a long 3 or 4 page scrolling email, because they don't have time to sit there and read something like that. You want to try to use personalization and demographics as much as possible. With most of your professional autoresponder accounts, you can gather demographics automatically. With some of the self-hosted autoresponders, especially like IMC Rapid Mailer, you can get some demographics with it, depending on what plugins you're using in conjunction with it. But the more personalization that you can use, as far as naming their business name, the city they're in, and that type of thing, the business that they're in, the business niche that they're in, and make it seem like the email is tailored to them, will help you a lot more. Like I said, it's not always possible to get their name, and in some cases, like I said, they don't even want to give their name. They'll give a business name before they would give their real name. So you kind of want to watch how you write your emails with these tokens. If you're using tokens for personalization, that the emails would come out making sense, given that some people may give you information that that's not really personal. But again, like I said, most of the major autoresponders and some of the self-hosted ones, depending on what plugins you use, can gather some demographics for you on like where they're located and that type of thing. And of course, if you're adding people manually into an autoresponder, a self-hosted one, you can have custom fields that you manually enter this information. I do this on my personal offline business website. I use a newsletter plugin. I don't use RapidMail. I use just a regular newsletter plugin, and I'll take the business card and key in all of the information from the business card. When somebody subscribes, I'll match it up to the email address that's on the card, and then I'll manually add the fields into the rest of it, just so that I can use that customization when I send out emails. The next thing you want to do is you want to use thought-provoking subject lines. Now, you don't want to use subject lines, that would be considered boastful or spammy, like you would with, internet marketing type things, or weight loss and that kind of thing. Subject lines that ask a question, I've always found work the best, and actually that works the best in any niche. If you use subject lines that ask a questions, it gets people to open your emails more, because they're interested in seeing what the email has in it if you're asking them a question from the very beginning. Again, like I talked about a little bit ago, repetition works, but just don't overdo it, and don't send too often. Again, I recommend no more than twice a week. And using my alternating schedule, like I said, I've had really great results with that, alternating between 3 and 4 day spans and 2 and 5 day spans. That seems to work the best with this type of niche list building. The next thing is send from a real name and not your business name. A lot of people, when they set up a mailing list for the local small business list that they're building, they will set up as the email coming from their business name. That looks too impersonal. The whole thing about working with local small businesses, that they want to know that they're dealing with a real person, and not some sort of a company that's overseas that they can't contact or whatever, that they can only contact them through the phone or the internet. They want to know that they're dealing with a real person. So, use your real name as much as possible, and even have your from address be your real name instead of your business name. The next thing is use the send address. It should be a name that's recognizable, that will identify you. Most of the time, these are people that you've met and you've exchanged a business card with them. So you should have an email address that's on your own domain, and it can be with Gmail or Yahoo as well. But the actual address needs to make sense, that they can recognize from the email address when they see it in their inbox that it's somebody that they've met, or they know of. They've been to your website for whatever reason, they were directed there through a meetup or whatever. But you want to have an email address that identifies you. In other words, having something like nag919@gmail.com, is not going to be recognizable. But having Bob Smith Web Consulting @gmail.com is more recognizable as being something that they can identify if somebody they've met. Next, you can format your emails to have no more than 2-line sentences in the paragraphs. Again, it makes it easier to read. It makes it quicker to get to the point when you have just short paragraphs. These long paragraphs that have 50, 100 words in them, people will skip over those. They won't read them. But a short 1 or 2 lines, they will read those. And again, you want to make these emails short and to the point, even if you just have to, at some point in it, have a link and redirect them to a page for more information. Much more appreciate an email like that than they would with one that's, really long that takes them 5, 10, 15 minutes to read and has paragraphs in it or just so long that you can't keep up with them on a computer screen. For deliverability rates, you should send them both HTML and text format. This will help you get through the email service providers, spam filters if you're using both email and text format. If you send in just one or the other, I would recommend text over HTML. Text will get delivered a lot a lot more than just a plain HTML email. But for best results, I do recommend using both. And most of your major autoresponders have that option to send them both text and HTML. And if you use a quality WordPress plugin for a self-hosted autoresponder, you can do this as well. You want to make sure that you give them an easy out for unsubscribing. You want to make it extremely clear that that they signed up for the list, and if you can include the sign up date in the email, a lot of autoresponders you can do that. You can have a token in there that shows when they signed up for the newsletter or mailing list. That'll help a lot into them remembering when that they did sign up, or even in the case of being asked to be put on the mailing list. But you don't want to hide the unsubscribe button. And in fact, in some cases, depending on the type of mailings you're doing, it may be better to have the unsubscribe list link in it twice, maybe at the very top. And in fact, some of the CAN spam laws actually, if you're going to advertise something in an email, they recommend that you have an unsubscribe link at the very top of the email. I don't do that myself. I only have one at the bottom of the emails, but I do make sure that it's not small text. I make it the same size as the rest of the text in the email, so I don't try to hide it in any way at all. Along with having the unsubscribe easily found, you also want to try to include some sort of a physical mailing address in your emails, and this is part of the CAN Spam Act as well, to have some sort of a mailing address. Every email you send out should have a physical mailing address on it, even if it's a post office box. You can do this again with tokens set up in your autoresponder account, depending on no matter which one you have, whether it be a professional service or a self-hosted one. You usually have this option of doing this. This will help a lot in a way as well in this niche of people remembering if they either subscribe to the list themselves or asked to be put on the list by seeing a physical address that matches the city that they're in, if it's happens to be the same city that you're working in. Creating custom landing pages with personalization works the best I've seen when you're going to include links. Now, it does require a little extra work to do that, and you may not be able to do this for a huge list unless you use some WordPress plugins that will allow you to use tokens in your email that can pass through to a landing page. There's actually a plugin that you can get for WordPress called Getter that will actually allow you to send tokens out in your emails that when the link is clicked, those tokens will pass through to the landing page and populate the landing page. So you only have to create the landing page once, and anyone that clicks a link goes to it will have, like either their business name or their address, whatever tokens you've decided to use. Those work the best. Like I said, if it's a really small mailing list, it may not be too bad, creating, a specific landing page for, somebody, especially if it's somebody it'd be really lucrative for you to deal with them to get their account. It may be well worth it to just, really design a good page for that. And you can always make it a template and just use it, and just change it out, certain areas of it for other clients. So, but like I said, if you're using that plugin I just talked about, Getter is what it's called. You can go over on WordPress.org and search for it. You can actually do this automatically through tokens in your autoresponder and have it pass through to the landing pages on your WordPress site. And then lastly, we talked about this a little bit. Free still works. You can get people to subscribe to your mailing list for some sort of a free offer, but free reports, like I said, perform the absolute worst. Business owners will pretty much won't subscribe for a free report. You can get them to sometimes subscribe for some sort of a video or audio or something like that, something where they just have to sit down and listen to it or watch it. But asking them to actually read a report is pretty much, wasted time. They're not going to do that. Offering free audits, consultations, evaluations, something that would help them in their business to determine how effective their business is or how much better their could be or how well it's doing. Those are the kind of free things that, will get people to subscribe to your list, something that actually helps them, not something that just tries to market to them or explain something to them. They will subscribe to your list for something free that that they feel like will actually benefit them instead of something that's going to try to educate them or train them. They're not really in the mood or in the position to want to be trained about the internet. You'll find that once you start dealing with local businesses or any small businesses, once you sign them up as a client, they'll pretty much just hand everything over to you and want you to do it for them. They have their set schedule, what they're doing in their physical business, and the internet is something that they don't know about. They don't have time to learn it, so they would much rather just have you do it for them, and they pay you to do it, and that's why you can, command such a good return on the prices that you charge for doing this stuff, because for the most part you will wind up doing most of the internet related things for their business for them. Well, I was asking, have you tried using video email or videos with the demographic? I have tried using video email to some extent, and what I've ran into with doing video email is, first off, an email can't play a video directly. The only thing you can do with it is actually have pretty much a link in it that they click, and it takes them to where the video is actually being hosted. Now there is some programs you can get now, and one of them is called Image Flip, where you can take a load of video and it'll make like a 10 or 15 second animated image of a video. Kind of simulates a video. And I've had pretty good success with those, but as far as actually having a video embedded into an email, like I said, it usually winds up, they have to go to a website where it's hosted, and then you run into problems with, them having the right codecs and that type of thing. But I have had, pretty good success with doing that animated image thing and linking to a YouTube video, because most everybody can play a YouTube video. And again, you've got an email that has an image attachment to it, and unless they enable images, they're not going to see this image. But through the use of alt tags, you can word it, say that if you're seeing this tag, if you're seeing these words, that means you don't have images enable images to see this video. And of course, all it's going to do is load that animated image of a video, and they'll see it start to play, and then it'll stop, and when they click it, it'll take them over to YouTube and play the rest of the video. Okay, so going back to our training here, the biggest piece of advice that I can give you when dealing with building a mailing list in the offline sector is never try to sell anything from your email campaign. I have never ever had success with trying to sell something directly from an email campaign. It's always better to be trying to invoke further contact and communication. One of the best call to action lines I've used in emails going to offline businesses is, if you need help with this, give me a call and my phone number. Or if you need help with this, click here, and it takes them to a submission form for, a request for an appointment, something like that. Either one of those two will work fine. But I have never ever sold anything to an offline business through an email link like you would through any other niche where you send them to, a payment page. I've never had success with that. If you design your email campaigns to try to sell directly from the emails itself, you're going to be sadly disappointed that you won't hardly ever get a sale from it. It comes down to, with dealing with local small businesses, they want to know that they're dealing with a real person, and they would rather talk to you on the phone or in person before they make the purchase of whatever it is you're trying to sell them, whatever product or services it is that you're trying to sell them. And the good news is, and this is true, I guess about 90% of the time, if you can get that secondary, that extended contact with them, either be on the phone or in person, at that point they're already half sold. They're already interested in what you're having to offer. They just need to hear a little more detail on how they get started or how it can benefit them. It's kind of like at that point where they're asking you to contact them and give them more information to talk about it, they're already sold on it. They just need to be convinced that it's something that they need, and it don't take much. Once you get just a little bit into the conversation, they're already asking, well, how can I pay for this? So that's a little bit of encouragement in that, even though you can't sell directly through your email campaigns, but by asking them for further contact and communication, once you do get to that point where they're wanting that from you, you pretty much, unless you mess it up badly, which it can be done, I've done it. You're pretty much going to make a sale just when you do make that contact with them. Now, email marketing to an offline list is an absolute necessity. It's something that's been proven over the years. It's effective. I don't see that ever changing. People are always going to have email, and email marketing is always going to be around. There may be other avenues of marketing that work well with offline businesses as well, but email marketing is always going to outperform any single one of them. And for the simple reason, it's the easiest method for them to get on the internet is to go to their email box. That's the absolute easiest thing that they can handle, so that's why it's always going to be effective with. But the thing about it is, like I said, it must be handled differently from any other needs for it to be effective. But the good news is, if you do go through these extra steps and efforts to handle these people with care and really pay attention to them and market to them in the right way, the payoffs are huge. I mean, every single account that you'll sell will far outsell anything you'll sell online. No, I'm not saying that's true in all cases. I mean, you could be selling $5,000 coaching courses online, and of course that's it's going to be hard to outdo that. But for the most part, if you're just selling regular internet products and membership sites and that kind of thing, one offline sale is going to equal 20 or 100 of those just from one sale that you get offline. But like I said, it is a different niche to deal with. Like I said, I've been dealing with it since 1994, and I've had really good success with it. Something I don't do as my primary business model now. I do some offline business still yet. I host accounts, websites for 6 or 8 different local companies right now, and I deal with all of their internet needs, what they need. And it's something that I'm getting ready to do more of. I've got a new product that I'm getting ready to roll out to local businesses, and I'm going to start doing more of it because it does work so well. I mean, you can earn residual income really easy with offline businesses. Like I said, the pretty much once you sign them up as a client, they hand everything over to you and want you to do it for them, and they're willing to pay you monthly to do it. Some of them recognize the need that they need to have it, but they don't have time to deal with it. They don't want to hire people to deal with it and keep them on their payrolls, so they just as well pay somebody like you or me to do it for them as long as they can trust that you will do it and they're seeing results from it. So this is my training on dealing with an offline local small business mailing list. Like I said, that I've had really good success list building with offline clients. It's just that through the years I've learned that they have to be handled differently for it to be effective. Paul was asking about engagement from video emails. Well, I'm not sure what you're asking about there. Um, Video marketing does work with local small businesses too. In fact, I've got several landing pages that I will send a short email to my mailing list and have them go watch a video. And usually the landing page I'm actually using the Getter plugin that I talked about, and I have that page customized for when they go to that page, it has their business info on it, so it looks to them like I created that page just for them. Although it's really just a page that accepts tokens, and any business I send to it, they see the same page except with their info on it. And I'll have either one video or two videos on there that will explain something. I've not had, any luck, and in fact, I've not really tested it that much, send them a series of videos each week, having them go watch a couple of different videos. For the most of what I'm after is to get them to ask me to contact them for more information. That's the biggest thing I'm after, is to get them to reply back or call me and ask for more information. That's the biggest thing I'm after. For the most part, they don't have time to be trained or taught something. If they're interested in it, they're going to want to talk to you and get you to do it for them. Or if it's a service that they have somebody on staff that could manage it for them, they're going to do that. For the most part, like I said, they don't have time to deal with these kind of things, and they would just soon have somebody else do it for them, because they're out trying to get more business into more clients and customers into their business, as opposed to trying to get their internet part working. In fact, like I said, they don't understand it to start with, and a lot of them just don't want to learn it, and they just soon hand it off to somebody else and let somebody else do it for them. So trying to train them through a video series. Like I said, I've sent people to a page that has one or two videos on it, but I've never tried to send them to a series of videos, because I just don't feel like it would work. It would be like trying to send them an e-course newsletter that takes, several days or weeks to get through. A business owner would not keep up with something like that. Yep, exactly, Walt. A series would be no good if you can't get enough info on the page that you're going to send them to invoke, them wanting more info from you, send them to it later, and it being a continuation of what they've seen before is probably not going to work. Like I said, I've not tested it very much, but well, like I said, what I've experienced in now going on 21 years, I've been trying to work with offline businesses. What works the best is just short emails that are to the point, and having the call to action saying, if you need help with this, or I can help you do this, or something like that, and ask, getting them to click a link to either call me directly. Uh, you guys do know that you can hyperlink a phone number in an email. It's TEL : and your phone number, and that will actually pull up a dollar for them. That's another thing I didn't mention in this training, is a lot of the business owners now are using smartphones. So if you have a hyperlink telephone number in an email, they will call you directly from that hyperlink in that email. So that works to your advantage too, to do that now, because a lot of them, they don't even use their desktops anymore. They'll check their email through their smartphones. What is the new offline product about? I'm actually going after the restaurant, and I've got a product that I've got coming out for the restaurant and the entertainment niche, restaurants and bars and that kind of thing. And actually, when I was thinking about setting this up for this product, I can actually apply it to a couple of different other offline businesses, which I want to work with the restaurants and the bars first and get everything tweaked and working with it first before I branch out into other niches. I don't want to complicate it too much, because anytime you do something like this, you got to test and tweak and see what works. I don't want to complicate it too much by going after too many different offline businesses sectors right now. I want to try just the one right now and get it working. Then I'm going to branch out into some others. Also, do you have a list of all your products, in particular offline stuff? Actually, Walt, I don't really sell any kind of training in the offline niche, to be honest with you. I have stuff that I use for myself, but I don't really have any training that that I sell to people to use on their own. I've thought about doing it, and I do have a couple of past products that I've sold, and they are my MobiFire line of products, and they are dealing with mobile websites and apps. But as far as general, getting businesses to get websites from you and that type of thing, and autoresponders and that kind of thing, customer relationship management and reputation management and Google Places management, that's stuff I do myself, but I don't really have anything that teaches it or anything like that. I've pretty much done like everybody else has done. I've went to the Warrior Forum and went to the section they have their own offline marketing, and bought products from inside there and adapted it to my own use out in my own business. Well, it says, would there be
a demand for a setup of the self-hosted autoresponder that you mentioned earlier today? Definitely would. I mean, like I said, the plugin that I use is called GetGetter. You could, and it's actually, like I said, it's in the WordPress repository. Uh, you could actually take that plugin and kind of tweak it a little bit and have it create the landing pages on install, and that would definitely be a product it would sell. I guarantee there'd be a lot of people that want to market in the offline world that would, buy a plugin like it that would actually do the setup of, they just have to fill in a couple of forms to create a landing page. I guarantee you somebody would sell a lot of those. But it's not something that I have time to develop. That's why I've never done it. I've used that plugin for years, but I've never taken it to the extent of actually creating a product that other people could use with it. Okay, you guys have any other questions on the training that we had before we go to the questions I got in the emails? All saying, so should you not use Sean's rapid mailer self-hosted, or is that suggested? If if you're going to do a self-hosted autoresponder, that's one I would definitely recommend is Sean Donahoe's rapid mailer. It's actually one of the better ones. I'm not using it myself for that niche. I do have his autoresponder, self-hosted autoresponder plugin set up on a couple of my other websites, but I'm not using it for my offline niche. I'm using just a simple newsletter plugin for my offline business. It's a plugin that I found in I just did a search for it in the plugin section inside of WordPress, and it's what I've been using. It'll take the tokens like I need, but that would definitely be a recommended one. It probably would. In fact, it's probably would be better than the one I'm using now. It's just that I just never have had the time or the need to switch over to it since the one I'm using, it works so well. I don't really have a reason to switch from it. Did he finally get the bugs fixed in it? He's had several different releases of it since it's came out. It's not 100% perfect. It still has, some problems with it. And to be honest with you, any self-hosted autoresponder script you're going to use, whether it be a plugin or an actual script of some sort, they're all going to have some little bugs in them. If you're going to use one, you need to get one, that they're actively developing it and working on it. Sean is good about, when you send in a support ticket about a problem, if he gets enough requests about fixing a problem, he is good about releasing updates. In fact, he just did an update about 2-3 weeks ago. So, he is really good about keeping up with that one. Also, I think you said no thanks link, and you still get the front end offer lower discount. I'm not sure on that. While I haven't been to that sales page in a long time, I couldn't tell you what you see there now. I do know that he changed the licenses. Initially, when it came out for sale, you could get the developer license and you could use it for any website. And now he's changed that developer license to where you can only do it with 50 websites now. And after that, you have to buy another copy of the developer license again. So if you got it initially back when he first launched it, you have the rights to use it on and on and again past 50 accounts. But if you buy it now, it's only good for 50 accounts. Then you got to buy another set of 50 licenses. That's good that he's doing that. At I heard that he has been bad on fixes in the past. Rapid Mailer's been one of his most popular releases. I mean, it really caught on. It's been a really good money maker for him. So I guess that's why he keeps up with it. And in fact, a lot of the programs and plugins you see coming out now support it. So I guess that's one reason why he's so active in keeping it developed, because he knows that having these other programs and plugins that recommend his rapid mailer just means making more sales for him. So it's something that he's found him a good little money hole there. Okay, guys. Well, let me do our questions that we got in the replay form before we get too much later with this. I got actually several, and some of them came from the webinar Saturday night if you were on the call Saturday night. The first one says, what did you think of Ecom Experts Academy? I looked at Ecom Experts Academy, and if you don't know what it is, it's about setting up a Shopify account, kind of like an Amazon store in a way. It's primarily, I mean, you can sell digital products through it, but it's more or less set up for selling physical products. You know, either products that you're getting at wholesale pricing or either white labeling or something like that. So it looked good to me. I mean, it looked like it was good training and all that, but I didn't buy it myself. Shopify is not something that I'm interested in. If I'm going to do some sort of selling like that, I'm going to go ahead and do probably the Amazon FBA or something like that. Although the biggest thing I've seen with Ecom Experts Academy and the Shopify is not exactly like Amazon in that they don't promote your stores like Amazon will. So it would be up to you to do all of your own promotion of your Shopify storefront if you did decide to do that. But like I said, it looked like a good product. It's just that I didn't buy into it. It wasn't anything that I was interested in at that time. Maybe somewhere down the road I might be interested in it, but right now it's not something I was interested in. The next question says, who is Ecom Academy? Walt, I forget right now who actually released that. It's a couple of well-known marketers that released it, but like I said, it wasn't something I was that interested in. Once I seen that it was about setting up a storefront through Shopify, so it wasn't something that appealed to me, so I didn't pay that much attention to it. It was sold at a good price initially on launch. I will admit that it was like $47 on the initial launch, and I think it's went up to 97 or 197 now, so it has went up significantly since its launch. Next question says, what is white labeling a product? Is that the same as PLR? In a way, it's kind of like PLR, but generally when they talk about white labeling a product, it's usually associated with software or some sort of a website that you can change the branding on it. You can't really change the actual software or the website itself, the inner workings of it in most cases. Mostly what you're doing is just changing the name and that type of thing, and maybe the help pages and the training and stuff like that to make it seem like it's your product instead of someone else's. It's become really popular with especially software as a service products, and you'll see quite a few software products now coming out that can be white labeled. So it's getting to be more popular, and people are associating it with PLR, but it's not really PLR in that you can't, in most cases, you can't actually change the product. You can just change the name of it and the branding of it. The next question says, how have you had any experience with John Thornhill, and would you recommend him? I've known John Thornhill for several years. My first association with him was back in, I think, 2007 when Butterfly Marketing, Mike Filsaime product was released. That was my first experience with John Thornhill. I bought Butterfly Marketing through him, and part of the deal with buying it through him is he would promote my Butterfly Marketing site when I got it launched, and he did do that. When I got the site up, he did promote it to his list, and best I remember, I got over 100 people to join the website that I had set up. I don't even remember now what I was selling on it now. But he did do that, and since then, I've kind of kept up with him. I haven't bought every one of his products, but every now and then I do buy some of them. He has really good quality trainings. He's an Englishman. He made his real fortune with eBay back during the days when you could sell ebooks on eBay for, actually you could give them away. You could give them away for a penny and get people to join your mailing list. That's how he got his fame and fortune online, was through that. And then of course he came out with a product called How to Be an eBay Power Seller in 90 Days, and that's what really where his career really took off. And I actually purchased that product way back then, but I never did do any of it. I really wasn't interested in eBay at that point in time. I have purchased several of his products since then, and they're okay. He does, like I said, he does a good job putting out good quality products. I've never taken any of his coaching, other than I did once join one of his group coaching, and it was about doing bonus marketing on product launches. It was a group coaching class that he's had on that, and it was good. He's really knowledgeable, and he will deliver the content that he promises. But other than that, I've not had any experience with John other than the few products that I bought from him, and a couple of the bonuses, like I said, were he would promote a product if I bought through his affiliate link, and then that one group coaching class. So overall, I would probably recommend him. He seems to be a good guy, and he seems, like I said, he puts out good quality products. Everything I've bought from him has been quality, so I've never had anything that didn't work or didn't perform like he said it would. Wall says I haven't heard anything bad about him. I haven't heard anything bad about him either. I mean, he's pretty much a straight flyer. He does what he says he'll do. Next question is, how long does your offer for the infographics package training last? And when is the first workshop? Okay, they're asking on this question about the webinar that I had Saturday night about the traffic training. The initial webinar special offer that I gave with that is going to last up until we have the first workshop, which I'm planning the first workshop to be Friday night, but it may be Saturday night. Depends on what happens this week, whether I'm going to get to do it Friday night or Saturday night. But it will end Saturday morning for sure. On August the 1st, that offer will go away and it'll redirect to the regular website. I'll give you guys a link to that here in just a minute if you want to go check it out if you haven't watched the replay. Next one says, you mentioned SWR and Traffic Ad Co-op members get the Yo infographics for free. How do I get more info on these? Yeah, that's true. My Success with Rick coaching members and the people that are members of the Traffic Ad Co-op membership that I have will get that training and that software for free. And I haven't posted inside those memberships yet, but I am planning on doing that hopefully if I get time tonight, depending on what happens after I get off this call, but I'm hoping to get that done tonight. What I'll do is on the replay page, I'll include the links to go check those both of those sites out. I don't want to post a whole bunch of links here in the chat for you guys tonight. I don't want to spam you a bunch of links. So I'll post the links to those on the replay page. The next question says, I can't make it to the live calls usually. Will the workshops be recorded? Yes, they'll definitely be recorded. I realize, that the times it's convenient for me to be able to do these calls, not only these calls, but these workshops that we're talking about are not going to be convenient for everybody. So yeah, they will be recorded. And one question I got in the email this week is, why is it the webinar replay going to expire? And the reason for that being is that webinar was actually supposed to have been just for the Traffic Ad Co-op members. I was actually supposed to have done that webinar back in May, and I couldn't get it done then because I couldn't get the white label licensing worked out for the software back in May. So I had to wait for that to work out. And then in June, I got tied up with other things, and then of course July is almost over with. I needed to get that webinar done. So what I did is, did the webinar Saturday night, and I left it open for the public to be able to watch. Anybody wanted to watch the webinar in case they wanted to get the software itself. Plus, and of course we have people asking about the Traffic Ad Co-op now. So, but originally the webinar was just for the Traffic Ad Co-op members. I was going to do it just for them, but I decided to have the first one open for everybody to watch it, just in case there is interest in the software itself, and then maybe the Traffic Ad Co-op. Wall says, can you post a link to the infographics, please? Actually, I'll post the link to the webinar replay plus the offered, because you really need to watch the replay for it to make sense to you. That, like I said, expires this coming Saturday. Like I said, I recommend watching the replay so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about and what you get. James says, thanks for the slide. You're welcome, James. I hope you get good use out of it. I've had that thing ever since I had my GVO account. I don't remember where I got it from. It is interesting, kind of a throwback to the television in the 1950s. See, the next question says, will the workshops be available if I can't take the offer right now? Yeah, the product that I'm actually selling on that webinar is going to be a real product that anybody can buy at any time. It's just it won't be at that special webinar price after Saturday. but the workshops will be available along with that even after Saturday. It's going to be a higher price for it after Saturday. So you'll still get access to all those workshops, even though they might be, depending on when you would actually get it, they might be already recorded and you just have to watch the replays. But if you have to wait till, like Monday or so of next week, you can still get it and still attend the workshops, because the workshops will be recorded one each week for the next 3 weeks. Okay, that was the last of the questions that I had in the emails. You guys have any other questions you want to ask on the call tonight, either about the training or the webinar Saturday night if you were on it, or anything else marketing related? Is anybody building a list in offline businesses? Has anybody been working on doing any of that? Like I said, I know Dana has some experience in offline list building in the newsletter that she has, but it's kind of in a different sub niche of offline. She's not trying to sell them websites or anything. She says online for now. Also, the best email address to email questions before the happy to help you webinar. Let me give you my email address. I thought you had that, Wall. That's the best email to email me at directly. Now you can go to any one of the Here to Help You webinar replays, and on each one of the replay pages, there's a link to be able to submit a form that sends me an email to. Dana says my offline. Yeah, I know, Dana. You're moving it to online now, but I'm just bringing you up. I know you've had experience doing it before. Okay, guys. Well, if there's no other questions, I guess we'll go ahead and call it a night for tonight. I thank you for coming to the call. I hope you learned a little something about it. Like I said, the offline building a niche in the offline business sector is well worth the efforts. It just, you have to put a little more effort into it, handle it a little differently, but the payoffs are huge in it when you do get a client out of it. Like I said, it's well worth the extra effort if if you're interested in doing any kind of offline marketing at all. If you need me, you know how to get a hold of me. I just gave you my email address in here, but you can go to any one of the webinar replay pages and submit a question there for next week, or if it's a question you need urgent answer to it, I'll answer it, as soon as I can. But thanks for coming to the call tonight, guys. Have a great week, and be sure and check your emails. And if you're interested in the infographics training, like I said, the first class will probably be Friday night unless something happens. If not Friday night, it'll be Saturday night. I'll let everybody know that decides to get that when the actual first workshop will be. But have a great night, everybody, and thanks for coming.